Hello everyone, Adriano here. This is a new video format which is going to be focused on bringing you guys news about the rogue class, and I figured the full release would be the best occasion to do it. Today we're going to focus mostly on changes from the test servers, but also key changes that have been done to the class over the last few months. If you haven't already, make sure to check my daggers and scorpion tail video, the links are in the description. Today we're going to talk about poison and antidotes, changes to rogue tools, some updates on spells, gear and weapons. We're going to end with paladin and how to approach it with each of the rogue weapons. The damage from poison has been lowered to 30% of max HP and 20% anti-heal. On live currently it is 37% max HP and 50% anti-heal. Poison removal consumables can now remove 50% build-up compared to only procced poison on live. And in counterpart to these heavy nerfs to poison, poison removal consumables now remove only half the duration of a procced poison instead of the full duration. It's a change that we know was coming for a few months, and the issue on the previous version of poison is that it was either way too strong when not dispelled by an antidote or way too weak when the enemy had an antidote. So now, both have been brought down in terms of strength, and poison will be much more reliable for rogues, without being as threatening for the receiving end. Here's an example of me using a basic antidote when I'm halfway through being poisoned. Antidotes were overall nerfed, but being able to remove affliction buildup is kinda strong as well. Basically it means that if you pop an antidote after receiving a poison dart, for example, the second poison dart will not even be able to poison you. Note that the medicated bandage also removes only 50% now instead of removing entirely the poison. Now for changes to rogue tools, we have a small nerf to poison dart. It's not so significant, but basically it means if you miss your second dart on someone on cooldown, the third dart is very likely not gonna be poisoning them. This also means that 2 darts in a row are not gonna be enough to poison a rogue because they will take only 40% affliction buildup for each dart. And then the power dart duration has been brought down to 5 seconds from 6. It is still one of the most oppressive tools in the game, so this is a very welcome change. Now about spell changes, this is not a very recent change, but it's very important that returning or new rogue players understand this. All of our invisibility spells are basically not audible by enemies unless we are 5 meters close to them. Basically it means on top of them. On this video, imagine that the banner is a player. If I am at least at this distance, they will not hear me use any of my invisibility spells. Our invisibility spells used to be heard from at least 40 meters a while ago, so this is a change that will allow us to sneak on people much more easily. And next about Phantom Dagger, the damage over time has been reduced by 25%, probably to discourage very passive gameplay. And this is a previous change, but Phantom Dagger is no longer a guaranteed route, it has a 0.6 second delay for the route. So basically Phantom Dagger has become more of a pressure tool during a fight rather than a guaranteed setup for your chip shot. So you're actually gonna have to get your hands dirty if you want to use Phantom Dagger now. As you can see, if someone is expecting the Phantom Dagger route, they can dodge easy. Now about gear changes. Basically devs want us to make more choices when picking gear traits, and there's been a few traits swapped around. As you can see with these arrows, which leaves us with these effects on current gear. Some weapon effects also got updated. The Viper Sting got a small but justified nerf. The last ward got a significant buff on the mark duration, which I'm really excited about because maybe this makes triple affliction builds viable. We will see how it turns out. Now don't get too excited, on paper this build is not viable versus rogues, priests, paladins and potentially wizards, so yeah. But if you manage to proc 3 afflictions on someone, it's pretty much GG and all they can do is Alt F4. And last, Venom Fang Kreese got a full rework for its effect. It now applies poison buildup on each normal attacks. It can seem a bit underwhelming at first, but over the course of a whole fight, this is actually a lot of poison buildup applied. Now we have a few changes specific to weapon archetypes on Rogue. Sword's dodge attack damage got reduced by 40%. I was expecting a nerf, but maybe not that big, we will see how it plays out. In counterpart, the charge attack on swords got a much bigger hitbox now, so it's gonna be much more reliable to hit. I think the key takeaway is that devs want sword rogues to use a bit more of their whole kit rather than just spamming dodge attacks on someone until they die. Which is fair. As you can see, you can now hit someone who is barely on your screen with the charge attack. And next for Scorpion Tail, we can now block while jumping again, thank god. And our left click charge attack now also becomes red. This is gonna help a lot in matchups like Mace and Shield, Sword and Shield Priest, Sword and Shield Paladin, where we simply cannot break the pips easily. So at least we will have this option, which is our only option to go through block. And there's one last change for daggers which is such a relief. They might have actually solved the resilience issue on daggers. For anyone who's not familiar, daggers is the only weapon who is able to proc resilience that quick. And so they made some changes to how much resilience we apply, but they also reduced a little bit our stagger. Basically, our single dodge attack will no longer deal any resilience, and our third click attack when we are stationary will also deal no more resilience. In counterpart, they are both lowered to a twitch instead of a stagger, which is basically a very small stagger. It's actually a pretty big deal for daggers, because now we're going to be allowed to brawl a little bit more in melee matchups without proccing resilience instantly, and without being strongly punished for it. And we are going to talk about our paladin matchups finally. It's coming out with two weapons, the sword and shield and the two-handed hammer. And even though paladin is supposed to be a tank slash support class, they are absolutely devastating in melee range. Now we're not gonna make this video a paladin guide, but all you need to know when fighting a paladin as a rogue is to recognize threat, their seals and when they have high justice. Their most dangerous seal is the seal of retribution, which basically gives them unstoppable for about 10 seconds. Whenever they use it, their weapons will glow blue obviously because of the unstoppable, and they will have a red aura under their feet. I'm not gonna go into details, but whenever this seal is activated, paladin becomes very dangerous. So it's much better to kite it out. And the second is their justice level. Whenever they reach high justice, their eyes will start glowing, and this means you need to get the fuck out. Justice depletes very quick when they are not fighting, so you don't even need to wait out that long. Just disengage, wait for justice to go down, and then you can go back in. It's also worth noting that paladins basically don't really care about disease and poison, so if you have a very poison heavy build and you're trying to take down a good paladin, know that you're gonna struggle a lot. Alright, now about sword and shield paladin. You need to know what their weapon ability looks like, so recognize when they use it, because you also need to kite it out. It looks like this. Basically they gain a shield and they get on fire for like 6 or 7 seconds. Kite it out and you're good. As a sword rogue, use your blade rush to go through their block, use your parries as much as you can, and use your charge left clicks from invisibility. These are your best bets at dealing damage to a sword and shield paladin without getting too much danger. As a dagger rogue, obviously use your chip shot to break their block. Your double dodge attacks can also break the block, but I really don't recommend brawling with the paladin. At the time of this recording, they are almost as dangerous as an axe warrior, so be careful. If you're using Scorpion Tail, you're gonna have to try and block their spear and hammers. Try to use your charge left click when they are blocking, and your technical attack will be a very strong poking tool, but this is probably gonna be the hardest matchup. Whatever you do on any of these three weapons, do not hit the shield. They will generate an insane amount of justice if you do so, and you're never gonna break it anyway. Now about Hammer Paladin, it feels a lot like a Death Ball warrior. They are very slow but very dangerous, and they have a crazy amount of unstoppable attacks. Their weapon ability can be very punishing. It gives them blue status for 2 spins and then red status. If you're using swords, obviously don't brawl them during their unstoppable seal, you're gonna get crushed. Use your parries as best as you can on their dodge and sprint attacks. And if you want to counter their blue status, your charge left click becomes red at the end, which means it will stagger them through blue. On daggers, you should really play around your chip shot cooldown. We are very weak at fighting them and brawling with them. You can abuse a bit sprint attacks to force them to dodge. And whenever you chip shot, don't even try to spider bite, just go for full damage with bleed claw ideally. If you're playing Scorpion Tail versus a Hammer Paladin, use your air attacks a lot to exhaust them, because they will have to dodge and you will spend a bit less stamina than they will. Know that their Q will basically counter yours if you use it at the same time. And your technical attack is going to be a very strong poking tool, because they simply cannot block ever. All you need to know on these three weapons is that Hammer has a lot of unstoppable frames, so don't be surprised by that. Alright, that's it for me guys. Make sure to check my daggers and Scorpion Tail video if you want more details about both weapons, linked in the description. Make sure to drop a follow on the Twitch and YouTube, that will help. And I hope this video was useful. See you in Eldegarde. Bye bye.